Tonight on 5.
Good evening, I'm Angela Lim. The top stories on News 5. Tightened circuit breaker measures to be eased in the coming weeks as the number of COVID-19 cases in the community continues to fall. But a warning.
Do not regard this as a signal that everything can be permitted and we can just go back to life as normal. We have to now.
Analysts expect the number of mortgage deferment applications to double by next month as the pandemic bites. Japan and South Korea explore the possible use of the antiviral drug remdesivir to treat the coronavirus. And teachers get creative as they come up with ways to keep students engaged during this time. Singapore will ease its tightened circuit breaker measures in the coming weeks. The government says selected businesses and services will be allowed to reopen as it prepares for the wider community to restart activities. From next Tuesday, traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture will be allowed. TCM halls with registered practitioners will also be allowed to sell retail products. Meanwhile, residents living in private condominiums will be able to exercise and walk their dogs in common areas. Facilities like gyms, swimming pools, and playgrounds will remain closed. Another week on, selected businesses will reopen. They are food manufacturers and retailers, including home-based food businesses and those selling cakes, snacks, and desserts, laundromats, hairdressers, and pet supplies. From the 19th of May, students from graduating cohorts may return for classes. Institutes of higher learning, like the Institute of Technical Education, will bring back groups of students for critical consultations or projects. Even as the country prepares to reopen, it will have to adjust to a new normal, where safe distancing remains a part of everyday life.
The government has cited the lower community transmission rates, even as it acknowledged that it would be difficult for this number to hit zero. In the past week, community cases have more than halved, while the number of unlinked cases has come down to 6 a day. The government has also said that Singapore can't be on a circuit breaker period indefinitely, and economic activity would have to restart at some point. Earlier this week, the central bank said the economy could post its worst ever contraction and dip below the forecast of -4 to -1%. Now, as the authorities reopen selected businesses, they have considered how essential they are and how this can be balanced with the risk of transmissions and control measures to minimize this risk. This approach will continue even after June, when the circuit breaker period is slated to end.
We will not open up suddenly and then everything resumes. But I think it's premature to say what we can do from June onwards. That's still quite far ahead. Even in the month of May, as I said, the steps we are taking may well have to be adjusted further depending on how the situation unfolds in the coming days or weeks. But the same considerations will apply, meaning to say we will do it in a calibrated, gradual manner, and we will look at risk.
Part of this approach is getting workplaces to adjust to a new normal where restrictions exist. The government says they must put in place guidelines and protocols for safe distancing. For example, spacing out staff physically and disallowing gatherings. When asked if Singapore would adopt an extensive testing approach as activities resume, Health Minister Gan Kim Yong said it is part of a package of measures that the government is taking.
the testing is not foolproof for transmission, because testing only allows you to know that today you are not infected. We are not able to detect the viral load, but you might have already have been infected, but you are during the incubation period. So always bear in mind that safe distancing and the circuit breaker measures remain very important to prevent transmission of the virus.
Even as the country prepares to reopen, the government says a sudden flare-up in infections is possible, and that's why the fight is far from over.
We are still in the heat of battle, but certainly when all this is over, we will have the chance to look back and learn from the experience. This is what we have done each time after every crisis, whether it was the Jamal Islamia incident or after SARS. In fact, the lessons from SARS have been very helpful in enabling us to deal with COVID-19. So likewise, at the right time, we will certainly do a comprehensive review of this pandemic and our response and seek to learn from it. And I have no doubt that we will find many things which we could have done better and many changes which should be made in order for us to be better prepared the next time. So that's our overall attitude, to always seek to learn, to improve, and to do better for the future. But for now, we should focus on the urgent priorities, and that is to bring the outbreak under control, to take care of our migrant workers, and to work out how we can exit from the circuit breaker and resume normal activities safely.
Well, Education Minister Ong Ye Kung says students' return to school from the 19th of May will be done in a careful and calibrated manner with ample safe distancing. And this includes bringing back students in small groups on selected days in a week throughout the day. They'll be spaced out within the school compound and masks will be compulsory. Students will also meet teachers one-to-one or in small groups. Mr. Ong says priority will be given to students who need school facilities for coursework and practical sessions, as well as those who need extra support. 447 new COVID-19 infections have been reported here, taking the national total past 17,500. The Health Ministry says most are migrant workers living in dormitories. 4 are Singaporeans or permanent residents. There have been a total of 16 deaths so far, the latest a 60-year-old Singaporean man who died yesterday. The Health and Social and Family Development Ministries will prioritize COVID-19 testing for residents and staff in all homes serving seniors. These fully funded tests are set to be completed by next week. Some staff will also be housed on-site or in hotels to reduce their exposure to the community during the circuit breaker period and ensure a safe environment for vulnerable seniors. MOH and MSF say they're working with homes to facilitate lodging for resident-facing staff. Funding will be provided for accommodation, meals, and transport if they have to move into hotels. Additionally, a $500 allowance will be given to affected staff to assist them with the transition. Separately, the Labour movement has assured migrant workers of its support during this time. Labour Chief Ng Chi Meng says it's supporting the Manpower Ministry to meet workers' needs, like having their salaries paid on time. It's also working with the Migrant Workers Centre to roll out a month-long recreational music program on social media. The song and dance celebration features performances in Tamil, Bengali, and Chinese every evening from today on the centre's Facebook page. The organisation says it will also flash important health and employment information on this platform. It hopes to appreciate and bring cheer to migrant workers in what it calls a difficult and challenging time for the community. Analysts expect the number of mortgage deferment applications to double by June as the COVID-19 pandemic exposes the vulnerability of investment property owners. Now, some landlords may even face a double jeopardy, losing jobs and rental income that is used to service their mortgages.
38-year-old Jay has promptly paid his investment property mortgage in the last 2 years. That's because he collected a steady rental income from his tenant. Off late, he's suffering sleepless nights over fears of falling behind in his loan payments.
My current tenant is a foreigner. If, let's say, I were to lose this tenant and, I would need to pay my mortgage installment, it's going to be a substantial amount for me to bear. And I'm not also sure on my job security at this point of time. If, let's say, I may be laid off or I'll get a huge pay cut.
That's why he did not hesitate in applying to defer his loan until the end of the year.
In ranks of people who really apply for the deferment, loss of jobs, cut in pay, and then immediately we go into investment property owners. When you can't rent out your investment property to cover your mortgage, you immediately encounter a cash flow issue. So this is a group of people who actually, majority of them, will seek the deferment.
About a third of around 355,000 occupied private properties are rented out. Real estate consultancy firm Hardens estimates that about 60,000 private units are tenanted to foreigners.
Because the job support scheme is actually aimed at protecting jobs of local, so the 55 to 60,000 foreigners will be the group that will be the one that it will be facing higher risk at this moment, because there is actually little support to actually help to protect their jobs. So if they should lose their jobs or even have a drop in terms of their income, then it may affect their ability to continue to rent the properties.
The Manpower Ministry has said labour market conditions are likely to worsen in the second quarter. Another property analyst expects locals and foreigners to be affected by job and pay cuts. Mortgage brokers also observed that a majority of deferment applicants came from the hardest hit sectors such as aviation and tourism. DBS, OCBC, Maybank and UOB approved a majority of the more than 18,000 mortgage deferment applications. But with the circuit breaker extension, some economists say deferment applications are likely to at least double by June.
And still ahead of News 5, putting rumours to bed. Kim Jong-un appears in public for the first time in nearly 3 weeks. Plus, Spaniards work up a sweat after they're given the all-clear to exercise outdoors. Details from Luton.
My Mitsubishi Electric StarMax aircon saves me energy and money. It's easy to clean and is so quiet.
For just $23.95. Staying in? We've got you covered. Contactless delivery is now available. Order now at kfc.com.sg. One Planet, Sunday 9:30 p.m. on 5. More episodes of 7 Worlds, One Planet are available on demand for free on MeWatch.
Seniors are the most vulnerable. They have weaker immunity. There is a higher risk of seniors dying of COVID-19 than younger people. We must protect them. Everyone, especially our seniors, should stay at home. They should not go out unless they have to, and go home as soon as they are done. Those who have to leave their homes should go out alone. All must wear a mask when outside their homes. Seniors should avoid crowded places and not dine outside of their homes. Seniors should not go to the market, instead get others to help them, like buying food or groceries. They should also not gather in groups at home or outside. They should stay active through home-based activities and can exercise on their own around their immediate neighborhood. It is an offense to disobey these safe distancing measures. We must all play our part to protect our seniors. If you have an elderly family member, don't go near them if you are sick. Those living with seniors should take extra care with personal hygiene. Seniors who need help with daily tasks or someone to talk to can call the Agency for Integrated Care's hotline at 1-800-650-6060. Do the right thing. The health of all depends on each of us. Check official sources for information and do not spread rumors. Sign up for the gov.sg WhatsApp service for the latest updates on COVID-19. The service is available in English, Chinese, Malay and Tamil.
Welcome back. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has reportedly made his first public appearance in nearly 3 weeks, and this comes amid global speculation over his health. Now, state media have broadcast footage of Mr. Kim attending a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the opening of a fertilizer plant near the capital, Pyongyang. He was accompanied by his sister, Kim Yo-jong, and other senior officials. We've not been able to independently verify the footage, but it's been carried by South Korean media. There's been speculation over Mr. Kim's health after he missed birthday celebrations of state founder Kim Il-sung in mid-April. Mr. Kim usually marks it by visiting the mausoleum where his grandfather lies. Before this year's absence, he had never missed the event since taking power. Japan and South Korea are looking towards an antiviral drug that has shown some promise in treating the coronavirus. Remdesivir has shown encouraging results in a U.S. government-sponsored study. Initial data indicates it shortened recovery times by close to a third, although it did not significantly improve survival rates. Japan has now reportedly begun fast-tracking remdesivir's approval as a potential treatment, and authorities apparently want it done as soon as next week. South Korea is also evaluating the effectiveness of remdesivir. It has expressed openness to importing the drug should it prove effective. Around 200 coronavirus patients in the country are enrolled in a clinical trial for remdesivir in cooperation with the drugs maker Gilead Sciences. The country has reported 6 new cases, all of them imported. It's the 4th straight day infections have risen by single digits, and all these come after U.S. regulators allowed the emergency use of remdesivir to treat coronavirus patients. And this means the drug can now be used on those who are seriously ill.
We're humbled by this being an important first step for patients, for hospitalized patients. We want to make sure nothing gets in the way of these patients getting the medicine, so we made a decision to donate about 1.5 million vials of remdesivir. We'll be working with the government to determine how best to distribute that within the United States.
A rapid rail project between Singapore and Johor Bahru has been further suspended until the end of July. Singapore and Malaysia had earlier said they would agree on project details for the rapid transit system link by April. But Transport Minister Koh Boon Wan says a change in Malaysia's government and the COVID-19 pandemic has thrown a spanner in the works. The latest extension will be the 3rd and final one, and Mr. Koh says it came at Malaysia's request. He's asked the government agencies involved and SMRT to work immediately with their Malaysian counterparts to wrap up discussions quickly. Mr. Koh says technology will help both sides discuss and negotiate. And while it isn't the same as face-to-face discussions, this cannot be helped. Meanwhile, Malaysia's transport minister says both governments are confident that discussions can be concluded within the next 3 months. It's 7 weeks on and people in Spain can finally work up a sweat beyond the confines of their homes. The government has given the green light for outdoors exercise as it cautiously eases coronavirus restrictions. To prevent overcrowding, people can only go out at certain periods depending on their age. They must also stick close to their homes. And this just in, the Prime Minister says the wearing of masks will be made mandatory in public transport from Monday. Spain is one of the worst affected nations by the coronavirus. The death toll has topped 25,000, and the country has recorded more than 216,000 infections in total.
Sí, felices, nos sentimos libres.
Es básico.
Sí, es básico hacer deporte.
Para la salud y el estado de ánimo es básico que permitan a la gente hacer deporte.
Bueno, pues un poquito hacer ejercicio. Primero andar, porque pasar directamente a correr va a ser complicado después de tanto tiempo, pero me siento bien.
And it's time for a quick break, but still ahead on News 5, celebrating your graduation in style this coronavirus season. Plus,
give yourself a round of applause.
Some students stage their own ceremonies while others even create a virtual filter for their schoolmates. Stay tuned.
Weather report brought to you by Mitsubishi Electric.
The Resilience and Solidarity budgets will provide help for Singaporean families. Every adult Singaporean will receive a one-off $600 in April as part of the Solidarity payment. Depending on your income, some will receive an additional payout of $300 or $600 in June from the Care and Support package. Each parent with at least one child aged 20 and below will get an additional $300. Older Singaporeans will receive $100 in cash. Low-wage workers will receive a $3,000 workfare special payment. And low-income Singaporeans will receive a total of $400 in grocery vouchers over the next 2 years. Outstanding loan repayments and interest charges for polytechnic and university student loans will be suspended for a year. Late payment charges on HDB mortgage arrears will be suspended for 3 months. Government fees and charges will not increase for a year.
This is ultimately about keeping our society strong. It is about giving us a sense that we are in this together, that we'll look after those in need and trust in one another.
Number 1, immunity support that maintains your immunity.
Ooh, delivery! Fish and chips are my favorite.
No dear, it should be fish and chips is my favorite.
Why not R? There are 2 things.
Should be is. Fish and chips is one dish.
I'm certain it's R.
Let's connect. Let's speak good English.
As Singapore battles COVID-19, there are those who work tirelessly and quietly go the extra mile. From the hawker who pledged free meals to the elderly, to the cleaners keeping our estates clean. These are our invisible heroes. Share your invisible hero with us. Let us know why we should appreciate them more. Visit sginvisibleheroes.com. Let's celebrate our heroes doing their part to keep Singapore going.
We're so excited to bring So Far So Good this coming Saturday.
Together with some familiar faces,
We'll be streaming live from our sofas at home. And we're so thrilled to bring you fresh music from
3 of the best musicians here in Singapore to entertain you from the comforts of their own home.
And you could stand a chance to win $300 in cash.
So don't forget, Saturday, 10 p.m.
Hope to see you there.
welcome back to News 5. Students can look forward to more than 8,000 lesson ideas, videos, and more on Education Ministry's portal by the time school reopens. And MOE says it's aiming to expand resources on the student learning space by almost 50% during the circuit breaker period. And we look at how teachers are using these resources or creating their own to keep students engaged.
When classes shifted from school to home, primary school teacher Janice Wan saw it as the perfect chance for students to play scientists in their daily lives.
That's their fantasy to actually play as an adult, to actually take a roller coaster ride. So I say, why don't you make your own roller coaster? Imagine yourself to be an engineer. So how will it look like for you?
Not limited by lesson time, children dive into the concept of energy at their own pace, trying to drive a marble through these loops. Mrs. Wan makes sure they're on track with weekly discussions on Zoom.
We do see that they are engaged by looking at their online responses when they provide feedback to their friends on how to improve on their friends' model, or the type of questions that they have for their friends.
Over a virtual space, holding the attention of over 30 teenagers is no easy feat. Another teacher shows me how she sends students on field trips during the circuit breaker period.
Students are to launch Google Earth and go to the Maldives.
Looking at the island as a case study, they explore coastal protection.
We spark the curiosity of the students. We get them to gather data, exercise reasoning, promote their thinking, and draw conclusions. So with each stage, there is a bite-sized section being designed. So together, it's a whole lesson package.
As they've shortened the duration for live lessons online compared to at school, students have to take more responsibility for their own learning. Mrs. Chin and her team put together additional resources, even making YouTube videos for the first time. Students then raise any questions they have.
Even my quieter student, they will respond. Okay? It's because everyone is required to type in their response. As opposed to being in class, they have to have the courage to raise their hand, to verbalize.
Despite challenges like having to navigate the blur between work and home, both educators say the experience has opened up their perspectives on how they can use technology to enhance teaching and encourage independent learning.
Polytechnics will explore ways for students to celebrate their graduation after the COVID-19 situation stabilizes. Ceremonies were cancelled amid the ongoing pandemic, and for now, to ensure students don't miss out, some schools are rolling out digital packs and even week-long virtual activities next week.
Congratulations to all our graduates. Give yourself a round of applause.
These students from Temasek Polytechnic used virtual backgrounds from the school to stage their own graduation ceremony on Zoom, a day after they were told these would be cancelled. They wanted to lighten the mood as some of their schoolmates were upset by the news.
Graduating students are looking for closure to the whole 3 years, 4 years that we spend in our tertiary education or whatever. And I think this is just one of the most accessible ways that we can do it.
To help students celebrate the milestone online, Ngee Ann Polytechnic has been putting together a graduation package over the month. Besides backgrounds and stickers for social media, the school will also roll out online activities like a graduation speech video competition every day next week. That's when ceremonies were originally scheduled. A few students had a hand in creating this filter on Instagram for their schoolmates.
Recently, there have been a lot of people using Instagram filters that are very interactive. So this is actually where our idea came from. The virtual graduation was a great substitute.
But not all students feel the same way. A petition calling for schools to postpone physical ceremonies instead of cancelling them has garnered over 13,000 signatures. Schools are looking into more options going forward.
It's important for the 5 polytechnics to come together and harmonize in terms of efforts, because the decision to cancel the graduation ceremony is also a harmonized decision. And we certainly look forward to other meaningful possibilities.
These could include gown rentals and the opening up of campuses for photo taking after safe distancing measures are scaled back. Universities usually hold their graduation ceremonies in the later part of the year. At least one of them, Singapore Management University, will be shifting theirs online, while other varsities we spoke with will make a decision at a later date. The issue will be raised in Parliament on Monday.
And don't forget, the latest on COVID-19 is always available on radio and online. CNA 938 has the latest news and current affairs 24/7 on radio and can also be streamed on cna.asia. And that brings us to the end of News 5. Thanks for watching and do join us again tomorrow. See you then.
This program is available on demand for free on Me Watch.
Tonight on 5.
Parental guidance is advised for the following program.